I think I felt I was, I wouldn't say different, but a woman since I was a child, since the age of 4, 5, 6.
A woman is the calm of a hurricane's eye, where a man finds tranquility as it passes by.
In my clinical practice, there's been an increase in the amount of people who are coming out as transgender, gender variant, and requesting to have gender changes done.
A woman is the softness inside the shell, when the shell is bombarded by man's creation of hell. A woman is the pillar of a temple foundation, where a man comes and goes with renewed inspirations.
My mother was probably the only person in my immediate family who was not supportive.
Simone se mami was heeltemal strydig daarmee. Sy het vir Simone die huis belet.
But what of a woman who holds all these qualities dear, yet was once the very gender we use when we speak of fear?
I'm proud to say there isn't an ounce of plastic in my body.
I don't know how true that is, because I operated on it.
Is this nothing more than a sad situation, or is it indeed part of nature's creation? It is not for us to sit idly by and judge, but to present the facts and offer nothing more than a gentle nudge. Join me, Elizabeth Marshall, as we take a road trip through the South African psyche, taking you to the edge of society's norms and beyond. It's time for Tales from the Edge. Whilst researching this chapter, I was posed with the question, what is identity? What if you were born with this nagging feeling that you were trapped inside the wrong body? A woman born as a man, or vice versa? This is a tale of two genders.
In grade 11, I started to wear light makeup, and also the girls then could wear navy blue trousers. And then I just changed to wearing navy blue trousers, and no one said nothing, even the principal, or everyone just turned a blind eye. I would say when I was a child, and even in my early teens, my family was very accepting of the fact that they saw that I was a girl in the wrong body. So they wouldn't buy me girly clothes, I would say, but they would buy me sort of more flamboyant sort of boys' outfits.
Sy het haar skooluniform gedra, maar ons het hier en daar gehoor dat as sy by die skool kom trek, verkleed sy vir haar. Maar ons was nie daarvan bewus nie, tot die aand van die matriekdans.
And even to my matric ball, I wore palazzo trousers, and I had a male escort that went with me to the, not a paid male escort, just like a...
En toe het Simone nou, soos hulle dit noem, uit die closet gekom om te wys dat sy wil nie meer 'n man wees nie, sy wil nou 'n vrou wees.
Maar anders was sy 'n normal kind gewees, skool en hobbies, whatever she did, het sy gedoen en sy was goed gelukkig gewees. Simone was een accident en my auntie het vir Simone in 'n groot gemaak en my suster.
Simone het 'n broer gehad wat bietjie anders was in eerste plek. 'n Bietjie wat ons sal noem effeminate, en ons het besef daar so 'n probleem daar. En toe Simone nog groot word, het ons vir Simone dopgehou. Nie veel nie, maar ook so op 'n manier. En toe het ons opgelet is dieselfde met Simone. So by tienerjare, daar het dit regtig begin wys dat Simone bietjie anders is as ander seuns. En ek en my tante was 'n bietjie omgekrap, seer gemaak, maar ons het probeer verstaan, maar Simone se mami was heeltemal strydig daarmee. Sy het vir Simone die huis belet, toe Simone by haar kom woon het, en toe sy uitvind dat Simone hierdie probleem het. En daarna het Simone toe maar op haar eie gaan woon.
As mothers and fathers they have certain dreams for their children, which is nothing wrong with. But unfortunately, sometimes parents live the lives of the kids. Her main concern was that she would never have grandchildren. And in her last 3 years on earth, she started to refer to me as a daughter. So there was a happy ending and acceptance at the end.
In my research, I discovered that the first gender reassignment surgery took place in the early 1950s, as Christine Jorgensen underwent sexual reassignment surgery in Copenhagen.
Which made her a celebrity to meet and talk to when she stepped off the plane at International Airport. Gentlemen, please give her a chance to talk.
Have you been offered a movie contract?
Yes, but I haven't accepted it.
Do you have any plans regarding the theater?
No, I don't think so.
Are you going to go on with your photography?
I hope so, yes.
I see. Right.
I'm very happy to be back, and I don't have any plans at the moment. And I thank you all for coming.
But how and when does gender identity disorder reveal itself to the individual?
I came into working with transgenderism, as it is commonly known, a number of years ago, both in my training and then in my clinical work. People arrive at different stages of their transitioning, and it's really quite fascinating how people will come with some knowledge and some people will arrive with absolutely no knowledge and feeling as if they're the only person in the world who has the sense that their body is completely at odds with how they feel about themselves in terms of their gender. So that's why it's called gender variance. There's an incongruity in how they feel about the way they look, their body anatomy, and how they feel about themselves. So the process of what would happen is somebody would come in to see me first, and I would do an in-depth history, really assessing do they fulfill the criteria of what now is in the classification system of gender identity disorder or transgender people. Once I feel comfortable that they do fulfill this criteria, I will then refer them on to a psychologist. Psychologists will do a psychological assessment of this person over a number of sessions. Once they're happy that they are psychologically sound to be able to pass to the next stage, we will then refer this person to a psychiatrist. And a psychiatrist, very importantly, has to be able to assess the psychiatric wellness or illness of this person. So it's a very delicate process that one has to go through as both the professional and the client to get to the point of surgery. Surgery is the last place that we would recommend people go to.
Breast augmentation and orchidectomy, so removing the testicles, would be the first thing that is done. With the vaginoplasty, normally what we would do is try and prepare things in advance to make sure that the operation goes as smoothly as possible. So usually that involves removing some of the hair to facilitate where we're going to move the tissue to, as well as trying to get as much length on the penile skin as possible. Because what we then do with the operation is we take all the outer skin off the penis and bring that down and fold that inside out and into a vaginal cavity. Obviously what we also need to do at that stage is create a clitoris so that there's sensation, and move the urethra, the tube that you pee out of, into its appropriate position for a woman. So there's quite a lot of complexity to the operation, but yeah, you know, once that is all settled down, there's usually quite a lot of swelling, and usually it takes somewhere between 3 and 6 months for that to all settle down.
6 months later down the line, when everything has reattached itself, you're actually sitting with something that functions and that can be utilized and that one can enjoy one's life to the fullest. I'm proud to say there isn't an ounce of plastic in my body, because one actually starts to take hormone tablets way before the operation, at least a year, and the breasts actually grow naturally.
I don't know how true that is, because I operated on it.
Toe sy die operasie gehad het, het ons 'n lekker gevoel daaroor. Maar as dit is wat sy man wil hê, dan laat dit dan so wees as sy gelukkig voel. Maar ek sal sê, my opinion is, God het vir jou kind gegee en God het jou seun gegee in jou ma se womb. En wat sy dan gedoen het, is haar eie ding. Sy voel hom so toe. Yes.
When anyone mocked me, it would go over the top of my head, and even now it would. I'm quite confident. I was confident and sure of myself then, and I'm confident and sure of myself now.
Even exuding this confidence, Simone still attracts unwanted stares from an often judgmental and cruel public. Simone's voice, however, is a public one as she represents the transgender community on Out Radio, a lesbian, gay, transgender community radio station broadcasting from Pretoria.
And in the news tonight, quite a sad story. Yeah, I'm sure the listeners will remember a few weeks ago we covered the kiss in Dimati at Stellenbosch University, and unfortunately one of them have died in a car crash in Woodstock in Cape Town. And of course these two made international headlines last month when the image snapped at the annual university's Soen in die Laan, that means Kiss in the Avenue.
We started working together on the radio show called Spoken, which is an LGBTI radio show on radio today. What attracts me to Simone is that she has such a wonderful, lively personality, and she's constantly making jokes, rude jokes, need I say, which I don't know, it's fun. It's like fun to have someone like this around. I think prejudice against transgender people still very much exists in society, yes. Especially if you don't look as convincing as Simone. If people can sort of look at you and think, oh, is he, isn't he? Then I think you'll get a lot of pointing and staring and that kind of thing.
There are probably people who would never understand and accept this, but that is fortunately in the minority, I think, especially in the South African situation. And it's also, in general, it's also how one treats and how one carries oneself.
I mean, she definitely doesn't want to be known as a transgender person. She's a woman. She would say, I'm a woman. Don't be like putting labels in front of me.
After surgery, there's called post-transition care, and that's very important because this person is always going to need specialized medical attention, especially as they age and as they develop certain kinds of perhaps hormonal problems or medical problems as a result of hormones that they're going to live on for the rest of their lives. So they really have to be watched from an endocrinology point of view, a medical point of view, and psychologically we're always there for backup for them.
Male to female can have normal intercourse. Yes, you need lubricants. You have normal sensation and you have normal erogenous sensation because we create a clitoris which is sensitive.
Fortunately, there's no menstruation involved. So one has the best of both worlds. I've always lived my life as a female. My employers employed me as a female. In fact, it was a government department. When I got the position at the Department of Health, as first as a secretary to the medical management, the chief director of health at the time, it was still the House of Representatives, called in the entire staff and he said, this is Miss Herodin and she will be referred to as Miss Herodin and nothing else.
In the news once again is Christine Jorgensen, shown being honored by the Scandinavian Societies of Greater New York at their annual ball and named as Woman of the Year. She modestly disclaims the credit for her accomplishment.
Thank you very much, Dr. Berlin. I want to say how deeply I am touched by this honor that has been given to me tonight, but I feel that those who should have been with us and were unable to be here are the ones that are really responsible for my success. That's my doctors and my friends. Thank you again.
There was a stage in my life when I had the Cinderella complex, and being the woman, I wanted the happily ever after. Fell in love with a gorgeous gentleman, long blonde hair. He's unfortunately deceased now, and he was my fiance. We were legally engaged to be married. Unfortunately, he had an accident which crushed his foot and developed cancer, so that's why he's dead. But that happened long ago, so nobody has to say commiserations. I'm over that now. But yeah, I was engaged. It was a wonderful engagement as well. All of my friends who were there, they knew me from, my family were there as well, so they knew me from past, from when I was a little girl, just in the wrong body. And it was quite an exciting moment in my life, the engagement party. So I can happily say that I was engaged, but would I ever get married again? No, I don't believe in marriage. I don't think that we are meant to be with the same person for the rest of our lives.
Simone's seems rather clandestine about affairs of the heart surrounding the stigma associated with sexual reassignment surgery and potential lovers.
And I think that people get rejected for all sorts of reasons. People get rejected because they're black, they're white, they're young, they're old, they're disabled.
Her latest relationship is somewhat of an enigma as she plays her cards very close to her heart.
Stay tonight, feeling like I wanna get to know you, feeling like I really need to know you. So what do you say? So please stay.
How many relationships have I have? I think I've lost count. Because I enjoy life, and I think one should not be bound by society's constraints. I strongly feel it is a case of how one projects oneself. When I am out in public, or when I would meet a prospective long-term relationship with family and friends, I'm not going to project myself as the program says, someone that is out there on the edge. I'm just a normal person, a normal woman that is part of society and that has got the right to be part of society. Have I ever been intimate with a man and only told him afterwards? In fact, it's actually none of his business. If a gentleman is interested in me, he should accept me for the woman that I am. And whether he discovers before or after that when I was born that my body was incongruent with my gender, that is his problem, and it is for him to work it out. There's the internet, there's books, there's research. I strongly feel that as a transsexual person, there is no need to explain the fact that my body was incongruent to my gender. Trying to open up a bank account in 1995, I recall the embarrassment of presenting a gender and then having one's ID presenting incongruent to that gender. So it was very strong point for me that one's ID had to be congruent to the gender that one represents. Good morning. I'd like to open a bank account, please. Good morning. Name, please? Simon Heredin. ID number? 1 second. It's 790228 5985 088. That ID number again, please? 790228 5985 088.
Could I get your ID, please? Sure. Just a moment, please. Here's your ID, please.
No problem. Hi, Ms. Heredin.
Morning.
We're more than happy to open an account for you, but unfortunately you will have to be addressed as Mr. Heredin in all correspondence.
My involvement with the alteration of sex description bill of 2003 stemmed from the fact that if one had gender reassignment surgery, one could not change one's ID document, which was then congruent to one's new gender, which is the 4 digit that indicates gender. So it necessitated that we had to make appeals to Parliament, and we do not actually sit in Parliament itself because that's reserved for the MPs, but we had to sit in the section of Parliament which is reserved for the parliamentary portfolio committees, and this was what the specific committee that we had to sit and make representations was the Home Affairs Parliamentary Portfolio Committee. It necessitated that we had to have about four or 5 representations to the committee, which necessitated in drafting the act as self, because not to use a horrible word, but they were slightly clueless as to how they were going to draft this act, including the policies which had to go with the act, including getting legal representation to get all all the legal jargon correct. The group was the Cape Town Transsexual Support Group, specifically formed for that purposes because of the fact that we didn't have support from the liberal constituency out there at the time. South Africans, even the liberal groups or the liberal groups within the so-called lesbian and gay and transgender community, perhaps then they themselves weren't ready for change. So it was a bit of a struggle to get support from what one would think would be the support sectors. The support sectors weren't there for us at all. Our most vociferous opponents at the time, which was actually disappointing, was the Lesbian and Gay Equality Project, and one would have expected support from such a strong liberal group in the sense, but they were actually the ones that gave us, and even Parliament, they made a submission completely not supporting the act at all, which was disappointing. The bill was enacted and signed into law in 2003 by former President Thabo Mbeki. The one criticism that I've often heard is that it said that, well, that means every Dick, Tom and Harry can go and have their ID changed. I don't think every Dick, Tom and Harry, I'm positive that not every Dick, Tom and Harry or Jane, Diane, whatever, is going to run to Home Affairs to have their ID changed, because being a transsexual, transgender person is so in it. No one is going to go and do that just for fun.
The most important factor in working in this area of transvariance is that you really have to do a very good assessment before you go ahead. And that's because there's so much variation on the continuum of gender. We've been brought up in this binary model, as we refer to it all the time, as either male or female. And then when somebody comes in who positions themselves as transgender, you really have to find out where on that continuum they are. Again, it's not just a straightforward, I'm male and I want to become female. There's a great deal of variety around that.
Ons is baie lief as Simone, ek en my kinders en die res van my susters en broers. Maar ons het nie baie kontak met hulle nie, so maak dit nie vir Simone saak nie. Simone is baie op haar eie. Sy was baie op haar eie. Sy is 'n vooruitstrewende mens wat vir niks stil sit nie. Sy doen wat sy wil doen.
Dat kan ons maak, ons moet dit aanvaar. So dit is, so Simone het gemaak. Ons wil haar gelukkig sien. Ons wil sy moet gelukkig wees.
I think Simone would make a great role model for young people who are struggling with their gender identity. When people see her, I'm sure they would be like, oh yeah, that's where I want to be. And she also has quite a public face. It's not like hiding in the suburbs. Yes, I'm a woman and nobody really knows that I used to be a man. She's kind of like, she's in a public figure, so people can realize that she's gone through the situation.
If I could have my life over, would I do this again? Definitely, absolutely yes, unequivocally. I wouldn't want anything different, because the life that I was fortunate enough to be born in, irrespective of his challenges, has made me the person who I am. And I wouldn't want to be anyone else but Simone. Be yourself, live yourself, enjoy your life. Seek surgery if you want or if you need, if you can get there. If you can't get there, assert yourself as the woman or the man that you are, because after all, we are living in South Africa with the most liberal constitution in the world that protects us from discrimination on the basis of sex, gender, race, religion, belief, and freedom of association and freedom of expression. Just go out there, live your life, and be yourself.
To err is to be man, to be woman divine. Simone Herodine, A Tale of Two Genders.